Hello Pisces, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and my name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of April 2022. So this reading will be for Pisces Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, before we get into the actual reading, please do keep in mind this will be general in nature, so not all of the information that comes through will pertain to you specifically. Definitely take anything and everything that resonates for you, however that makes sense to your specific situation. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and you can simply leave the rest. So Pisces, happy spring. Here we are in Aries season at the beginning of the astrological new year. So there's all sorts of new energy coming in, and things are kind of starting to thaw and warm up finally. So I hope March was good to you. I'm very excited to see what will be coming in for you, or what energy you might be working with this April. So I will start the reading off by sharing the channeled messages that I sat down to connect with before I got your oracle cards out. So I'll share those with you first. We'll read your oracle cards, pull some tarot and clarifiers, finish off with affirmations as usual, but I'm also going to do something different this time. I'm going to pull a third and final oracle card at the end after your affirmations, and instead of doing an in-depth interpretation like I do for the cards at the beginning, I'm going to read directly from the guidebook for this one. So that we'll use that just to kind of tie things all together, like a final little bit of insight or advice, see if there are any themes that are repeated or clarified. It's something that I like to do when I read for people in person, one-on-one, so I figured I might incorporate that into the readings this month, just for fun. So we will start with your channeled messages. And so it was really interesting. I've been saying this for the last couple of readings. It's like every sign has had a significantly different energy or vibe. Like I've gotten a very different impression from everyone this month, which is not unusual. But as I was kind of going through my ritual to prepare the cards and set my intentions and kind of start connecting with your energy, the sense that I kind of got, it was like kind of like a know-it-all energy, but not in a negative way necessarily, not in a boastful way, but it's kind of like a need to constantly be learning, reading, educating yourself, like checking facts and making sure that you have as much access to as much information as possible. So it's kind of like a very learned, like studious attitude, which is beautiful, right? Because, taking that time to learn, being open to new information, investing in yourself, like you can never go wrong on that front. But the interesting thing that I got is it was like almost like a fortress of knowledge, like barricading yourself inside, all of these facts, all of these skills, all of this information. And it's like, if there's something that you don't know or you're not 100% sure of, it's like, I need to figure that out and I need to be like sure what that means. So it's kind of like, I got the sense that almost like educating yourself and connecting with knowledge and having knowledge could be a way for you to protect yourself, like protect yourself from scrutiny or from, being, undermined or coerced into believing that you're wrong. It might be the way that you feel like you need to prove yourself. But yeah, there was kind of a sense of like, fortifying yourself with knowledge and information so that you've got that stable foundation that nobody can attack. So yeah, it almost felt like a self-protective kind of measure, to kind of like keep yourself feeling secure. And that also came along with some like hermit energy. So maybe feeling a little bit reclusive, kind of spending a lot of time in your own space, in your own energy, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we obviously, like, some of us need more time to do that than others, but we all need it at some point or another. But that's kind of the thing that I got, is it's like, maybe you're somebody who doesn't have much of a social battery, or what social battery you do have gets drained really quickly. And so it's kind of like, feeling a little bit avoidant of people, communication. And this doesn't have to be just hanging out with people in person, but it can also be like, text messages, emails, phone calls, like being in communication might be something that you find to be really difficult and draining. And as a result, it's something that you avoid. And that can be, you know, protecting our own energy to a certain degree, but sometimes it's also like, sometimes we also can kind of like barricade ourselves away because it stresses us out. But sometimes getting out of that shell and communicating and connecting with people and doing something a little bit different, sometimes it's good for us too, right? The next thing that came through is like when I kind of like closed my eyes to center myself, I pictured one of those like spiral type illusions. So, you know, like the black and white spiral, and it's like you look at it and it appears to be spinning, but it's just an optical illusion. So I don't know, perhaps that strikes a chord with you. Maybe there's some significance that that has to you that I don't know. But the thing that really struck me is illusion. So the idea of, you know, maybe your eyes deceiving you, or things not being what they appear, not being able to trust yourself, or perhaps, you know, you're somebody who I might be like really gullible, right? I have no idea how that might apply. And the other thing is, it's like, yeah, so you might be susceptible to illusion. There might be some kind of illusion that's presented itself that either you're not seeing through initially, or maybe it's like not on your radar. Or it could be that you're like, perhaps your personality type, or maybe the things that you're going through this month, you might be prone to spiraling. Like when things are going really bad and you're in a low place, like maybe it's really easy for you to kind of like spiral down into a black hole. So that might be something to keep in mind if you do feel like, you know, in terms of your thoughts or your feelings or whatever the case may be, that you feel like you're starting to kind of descend a little bit, or things are starting, like just kind of being mindful of that. The next thing that came through was ostracized. So the feeling of being kind of like looked down on, outcast, feeling like you don't fit in, maybe being like a lone wolf or a black sheep. But see, I find a lone wolf and black sheep, those are more kind of like, I find that people like, it has a negative connotation, but I feel like most people who identify as that find some kind of like strength or stability in being that way, because that's part of them like claiming their own energy. But ostracized gives me the sense of like feeling excluded, feeling like you're not accepted, feeling as though you are outcast or looked down upon by other people. So it could be like encountering that kind of energy or judgment or scrutiny from people outside of you. And it's like that could be part of the reason why you're selective about who you, you know, who you communicate with. There could be like maybe some wounds around feeling left out or out of place. Yeah, and the next thing that came through was like being on the defensive and like a lack of acceptance. So yeah, so this could go hand in hand. So maybe if you've had a lot of experiences where it's like you're different from the people around you, and you know they're not really quick to accept you, maybe you've had issues with people, you know, like being rude, or maybe people bullying you, or maybe just like experiencing the discomfort of knowing how different you are from other people and just not feeling that support. But it could mean that you tend to be defensive. Like maybe you expect that people are going to be, you know, casting judgments. Maybe you expect that you're not going to be, you know, fitting in or going to be understood. And so perhaps you're already kind of like on the defensive in most situations. So it could be that. It's also kind of being mindful of situations that like make you want to put up your defenses or feel as though like you're not safe, you can't be vulnerable. And any need to defend yourself or your actions or your ideas, because that will be pointing to some kind of, likely some kind of wound, maybe an area for healing or a past experience that that's kind of stuck with you. The next thing that came through is my tendency to underestimate myself. So this is kind of interesting. So it's there's a level of self-awareness and knowledge that it's like that you do underestimate yourself. So it's like on one hand, you know that you've got all of these skills or all of these valuable, you know, characteristics or assets. Like you're able to see what you're capable of, but it's almost like knowing isn't enough. You just can't quite get to the spot where you believe it consistently enough in order to confidently and consistently take action or show up in that energy. So that might be, that might be a struggle for you, either this month in particular. Maybe it's been a struggle for a while that you're aware of, but it seems to me like something that you're aware of and that you're trying to work on is like not underestimating yourself, not self-sabotaging, not getting caught up in fear and worry and anxieties, because that's kind of like taking you off track. And that was followed by stepping into personal truths and like personal power. So it's kind of like, maybe that's a way for you to work with that energy of underestimating yourself, is to kind of take a little bit more time to connect with your personal truths, your personal power, knowing what's right for you, knowing that by connecting with that energy and allowing yourself to make decisions that are in alignment with that, that is going to help you live the life that you're meant to live. And as long as you're connected with that energy and confident in it, it doesn't necessarily matter what anyone else says or thinks or does, because they're not living your life, and it's not your job to be worried about what they're doing or what they think, right? The next thing that came through was camping or hiking. So I could picture myself walking through like a forested area on a path. It was like nice and calm. It was kind of like a grounding experience. So you might be somebody who enjoys hiking, nature walks in the forest. Kind of gave me like the vibe, like trees and rocks and lakes and that kind of stuff. Or it could be camping. This could be like regular campsite camping or backcountry camping. Maybe that's a great stress reliever, a great escape for you, a good way for you to kind of reconnect to yourself through nature, to like kind of decompress and unplug. The next thing that came through is funny. So it was like a feather duster. But the way that it came through, that I figured out that was like the main point, was feather duster, was because it was like French made and feather duster. And so it's like, I don't know if somebody has a feather duster or uses a feather duster. Perhaps there's somebody that that still has or uses a feather duster, and maybe there's like a French made joke, something to do with that. But I thought that was totally obscure and funny. So I don't know if that might resonate for some of you. The next thing was annihilation, and that kind of came through as like the annihilation of those types of energies that create suffering, right? Anxiety, fear, guilt, shame. And it was kind of like honing in on them and taking them out, like aggressively. Like you're at war with these like negative things or these difficult, challenging experiences that are hurtful, or they're limiting you and causing you to like kind of stay in your shell instead of embracing, your authenticity, or however that makes sense to you. But yeah, it was kind of like the idea of like completely annihilating them, like take no prisoners. There's no question about it. Like this is what needs to be done. So I don't know, perhaps you might be in that energy. The next thing was like greatness. So connecting with greatness, aspiring to greatness. There's also the sense of like greatness is in your genes, in your DNA. It's like your birthright. So this could have to do with your ancestry, your connection to your roots. There could be something, some kind of heirloom, some kind of gift, some kind of skill, something that might like have been passed down through your bloodline. But it's kind of like the sense of your destiny is tied to your ancestry. It's like in your blood, it's in your DNA. You were born to do this kind of thing. So I don't know how that might make sense to you. The next thing that came through was a sense of frantically searching for something. And it's like, I'm sure we've all had those times when it's like, oh, you misplace your keys or something and you're in a rush. Most of us can identify with that, but it didn't feel like something material, if I'm honest. It felt more like frantically searching for like an answer or meaning or purpose or something. So it's something a little bit intangible, something with a little bit more depth, something that's kind of difficult to define. And it's like the sense of like really scrambling to try and figure that out. And maybe having even a lot of stress and anxiety or like challenging thoughts and emotions surrounding this search for whatever this is. And the next thing that happened was excuse me, I had ringing in my ears. So ringing in my ears is something that I normally have when I'm reading cards or trying to like connect on a spiritual level. It's kind of like a good indication for me when things are being like emphasized, or like it's kind of like an attention grabber almost, but it's almost like there's still like a low level of it happening like as I read cards. But it was very interesting because it like became deafening. It was almost like a tidal wave. Like it built and built and built and built, and then it became like so loud and it washed over me so heavily that I almost had a difficult time hearing just like the general background noises in the room. And so I thought that was really interesting, and it didn't stop after that. It kind of pulsed like waves. So it would like build and then drop back and build and then drop back. But it was like very noticeable. And for me, that means like this might be something that you experience. Like ringing in the ears, perhaps if you are like a highly sensitive person, an intuitive or spiritual person, if you have any kind of spiritual practice yourself, perhaps that's something that you experience. That's part of the way that that you receive information or something. But it's basically like kind of like this ringing in the ears, and like being so obvious that you absolutely can't ignore it. Like it's trying to bring your attention to something. That's the vibe that I got. I don't really know how to explain it any better than that. If it resonates, great. And the next thing that came through kind of connected to that was like, help us help you. So it could be the sense of like, you know, your angels, your spirit guides, whatever you believe in terms of, you know, the forces that be that are surrounding us and supporting us and helping to guide us. It's kind of like the sense that perhaps they're trying to connect with you. Maybe you do connect with them, but maybe there's something in specific that they're trying to help you with. They're trying to bring to your attention or bring to light. So it could just be a good time to take some time to connect on a spiritual level if that's something that you already do or that you're interested in. Or it could just be, you know, taking some time to connect with yourself and seeing if there are some answers there that are waiting to be found. And the next thing that came through was growing pains. And I got like the sense of like a snake shedding its skin. So it's like a snake, in order to grow, continually has to shed its skin. And it's like there's this process of like, you know, constant growth and transformation. And it's like, even, you know, as children, physical growing pains are an actual thing, right? So I don't know, there's some way that you are growing, developing, you know, building your skills, but it's challenging. There might be some pain mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, something that's kind of like introducing a little extra struggle into that dynamic. I'm not sure if you resonate with that. But the sense that I got is it's like kind of being pushed toward transformation. And perhaps you know that there's some kind of transformation underway, or that needs to kind of be invited in, or perhaps like fully integrated. And it's like, yeah, you might be a little bit hesitant. You might need that extra little push. There might be some external forces pushing you in that direction, and that might be part of this kind of sense of growing pains. And the last thing that came through was angelic wisdom. So again, this could be on a spiritual level if you have a practice of connecting to yourself, your highest self. Angels, spirit guides, perhaps angel symbolism has some kind of significance to you. But there's a sense of being able to connect with wisdom, knowledge, information, connected to that in some way. So yeah, interesting messages for you, Pisces. So we'll get started with your cards. Your first is TikTok. And your second is collaborative dreaming. All right, so it's kind of like an interesting combination. So TikTok, this speaks about our concept of time and how, as humans, once we decided to kind of measure time, keep track of time, it kind of changed everything. It ended up limiting our understanding of time, limiting our understanding of life and how things happen and energy and all of that. So it's basically saying like we may measure time in seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. And that might be like the way that we kind of structure our lives and our a way of understanding time and how it impacts our lives. But it's basically saying like it's the concept of timelessness, and that, you know, there are really no limitations. And it's kind of like we think that time is linear, but in reality, like everything is always kind of happening all at once. And so with that in mind, it's kind of like the blocks that we perceive that are standing in our way from achieving something, or the amount of time that it takes for us to achieve something or for something to come into us. It's not as limited as we think that it is. And it can be a really difficult concept to grasp. It's like, that's why there are so many, theoretical physicists and all of that, like they've been trying to kind of figure out how this makes sense, and they've acknowledged that it is a thing, but it's like it's one of those things that it's like you can't quite nail down. And obviously I don't have a huge background in the science of it, but so I'm not going to go there. But so it's basically just saying like anything that you're concerned about in terms of time, like if you feel like time is running out, you don't have enough time to be the person that you want to be, to do the things that you want to do in life, or it's like you're worried that the things that you're trying to create or manifest, or the life that you're trying to live, you know, is not coming to you. Maybe it never will come. Maybe you'll run out of time before you're able to kind of see that come to completion. And it's basically like any kind of worry or fear or anxiety or concern that you have about the timing of your life and the things that you're looking to do, or the things that have happened or are yet to be, it's basically encouraging you to release this I don't want to say, I don't know, connection to, I guess, this reliance on the idea of time being linear, and the idea that there isn't enough time, or that things will not happen in the right time, or that you've run out of time. Because this can also be a sense, this can be a sense of like running out of time and being afraid of things not happening. It's like, well, if it hasn't happened now, then maybe it never will. Or it can be like, well, you know, I've been doing this for so long, I'm this old, I can't start something new now. This, like, you know, if I was going to do this, I should have done it 15 years ago and I didn't. So that means it's over. So it's the sense that like, it's never too late also, right? So these are the conditions that we put on ourselves and the limitations that we put on ourselves, our experience, our life, based on our concept of time. And it's recognizing that that concept of time is flawed innately. It's not necessarily right or true. It's not necessarily benefiting us. And so it doesn't serve us to get caught up in worry and anxiety, because by putting those limitations on ourselves, we're basically agreeing to confine ourselves to something that we think we understand, but we really don't. So it's kind of like, if you are able to let go of that concept of time and let go of your worry about it being too late to do something, or something like something not being possible because there isn't enough time, or maybe time has been wasted, or whatever, however that makes sense to you. It's like, if you can kind of free yourself from that concept and needing to be bound by like a clock or a timeline, then you're going to be able to open yourself up to the variety of possibilities that are out there. And the fact that it's like, if you consider, if time is not linear and everything is happening all at once, then even the things that seem most improbable or even impossible could very well happen. And it's, you know, it's not necessarily something that you can make happen. Like, you can't force things to happen. It's trusting that everything unfolds in the right timing for you. So it's divine timing. And, you know, we all have our own, like our own soul, our own energy, our own path. There is kind of like there's a time for everything. There's a time and season for everything, for each and every one of us. And it's trusting that the timing of your life is going to look different than the timing of everyone else's life. Right. And so sometimes it can be easy to put limitations on ourselves and say like, well, I'm too old to go back to school, or I've been working in this profession too long to like change my mind. Or, if I was going to start my own business, it's something I should have done long ago and now it's too late. So it can be easy, right? Because those are things that are kind of taught to us and impressed upon us, not necessarily because they're right or true, but they're usually fear-based, right? And so it's basically like giving yourself the opportunity to trust that you are exactly where you're meant to be. You're having the experiences that you're meant to have, and the things that are truly meant for you will never pass you by, right? So it's like there's no need to worry or stress or fear, particularly when it comes to timing or having enough time. It's knowing that, if you're doing your work and you're connecting with yourself, following your path and living your life authentically, it's like you can trust that you're going to have the experiences you're meant to have when you're meant to have them. And, we don't always necessarily get things as we want them, when we want them, because we don't always know what's best for us. And we also don't know what we don't know, right? So there are maybe experiences that we need to have or things that we need to learn in order to set us up for success, so that that thing that we're focused on or that thing that we want can come in for us. And if it were to come in before we had that experience, then we wouldn't necessarily be able to make the most of it. So it's like, it's trusting that you're where you need to be, and that the timing of your life is deeply connected to you, your energy, your purpose in your path, and allowing yourself to honor that. And so that means when opportunities are coming up that are connected to things that you're passionate about or that you're interested in, that you don't need to hold yourself back or disconnect from those opportunities simply because you feel like the timing is not right. Or it's like that ship has sailed, right? So it's like doing yourself a favor, disconnecting from this concept of time in any way that it may be limiting you, and allowing yourself to just kind of freely follow your path. I think that's like, yeah, there's a lot of trust there. So, and like, I kind of get the sense that whatever this whole like wound or issue around timing is, it might be a way that you really like judge yourself, beat yourself up, like limit yourself. You might be punishing yourself for mistakes that you feel that you've made in the past that have made it, unlikely that you're going to connect with the things that you want to now. And it's kind of like, if you want to connect with something in particular and you've had experiences in the past, it's trusting that those experiences were leading you to this place now where maybe you're ready. Maybe you weren't ready to have things unfold for you in such a way, and now is the time, or maybe a year from now is the time. But yeah, so it's kind of like letting go of that weight, right? And for it to come up with collaborative dreaming, this is a very, very complex card. It has one of the longest descriptions in the guidebook, and I may have to refer to the guidebook because there are so many like key points to this energy. So this has to do with like working collaboratively, with people. And this is the sense that it's something bigger than just a typical kind of teamwork environment. It's the idea that like, this is your soul's work. This is your purpose. This is, this is why you're here, right? The work that you're meant to do. And it's not, you might be someone who kind of operates mostly independently, or it might be a very like, whatever this is for you, it's kind of like on a spiritual level in terms of your purpose and your passion and what you came here to share with other people. It's not something that you're meant to do alone. So if you've been alone on this path thus far, then, chances are you've had a lot of opportunity to connect with yourself and to build your skills and to learn. But it's basically saying like, you're not going to be able to do all of the work that you came here to do by yourself. And it's about connecting with other people who are in a similar energy, who have similar skills and experiences, like people who are going to be like a beneficial connecting with a beneficial network of collaborators that can understand and help and support each other in kind of fulfilling this bigger purpose, or like, introducing like whatever, like a certain skill or a certain support, or maybe like healing, or whatever that is for you, whatever that kind of creative outlet and expression, the way that you were meant to impact the world, to help kind of like raise the vibration of the people around you. So it's not meant to just be about you and for you and how you can help other people, but it's also meant to help you connect with other people that are in that same energy. And that and so it's basically like, and I think the analogy is that, a drop of water can only do so much on its own, although it's precious as it is, right? But it's like when it forms with other drops of water, then it could create a wave, and that can have a huge amount of power and momentum, and it can impact far more greatly than one single drop of water. And so it's kind of recognizing that it's like, for the greater good, you do need to take whatever this is and find ways to connect with and collaborate with people. And so it could be like, perhaps if it's a very individual endeavor, or it has been to this point, or maybe it's very personal and close to you, and it's something that you don't necessarily like to let other people in on, that might be the challenge. So it's basically saying there may be some kind of challenge to you connecting with and collaborating with other people, even if they are people that are maybe more similar to you. And that you would be able to work with, and to not only for you to benefit, but for them, your other group members to benefit, and then for maybe humanity as a whole to benefit from whatever it is that you have to offer, people who are drawn to whatever service you're offering. But it's basically saying like, this is a big part of your personal growth and the growth of the people that you would be collaborating with, and then the growth of the greater population, in a sense. So it's kind of like you're destined to almost address this energy or whatever it is. And the thing is it's recognizing that the challenge is that, especially if it's something more spiritual in nature, or very personal to you, it's recognizing that a number of different people can unite for the same purpose, to have the same goal and work together and bring different perspectives and different skills and work in harmony. But it takes effort in order to be able to like orchestrate that. And the trouble is that working collaboratively in a group setting can be challenging, because we have to learn how to navigate those interactions with other people. We have to learn how to be aware of our own personal truth, our own intuition, our skills, what we feel is right for us, and to be able to respect that each and every individual in the group is going to have a different kind of experience and different expectations and different standards when it comes to that. And so it's like having to find a way to work together and respect each other's boundaries. It might be agreeing to disagree, not judging people by the same standard that you set for yourself, or expecting people to have the same approach, and vice versa. And so working collaboratively can actually bring up a lot of wounds from our past, things that, wounds, or fears or anxieties around working in a group setting could be related to, being heard or seen or trusted to do your portion, or seen as capable. And the thing is also that in this collaborative dreaming, it's the sense that like there's like this bigger picture, this bigger goal that's kind of like being dreamt of. And the goal of this collaborative work is to kind of take those dreams and bring them down into reality, and maybe like introduce a different energy or a different perspective, a different way of living to the people around you. And so it's kind of like everyone's connection to that is going to be different. It's going to be expressed in a different way. And so to be in a group, it's important to know, when to compromise, right? When you might need to kind of sacrifice your idea or your vision of how you would want things to go for the greater good. And at the same time, know when not to compromise and when to stand your ground and know like this is what is right for the greater good. And so it's kind of like it can also challenge us in the sense if we struggle with ego at all in terms of, needing to be the one to call the shots or needing to be right or being afraid of being wrong. It's kind of recognizing that, everybody has their own personal truth. We're not here to force other people to kind of play by our rules or to succumb or to give in to other people's views. And it's kind of like, this is the trouble. And with collaborative dreaming and anything that is, creative in nature, taking that dream and figuring out a way to make it real, there is creativity that's involved in that. And any kind of interactions involving creativity, it's like that's going to be driven by passion and inspiration. And so it can create a lot of friction and tension because like emotions can be high, and like everyone having their own kind of idea of what things mean, how things can be done. And so it's kind of like we might view friction or tension within like a collaborative group as being a negative, but it's actually positive. It's actually, it's actually proof that the creative process is going on, because the more intense the creative process and the inspiration, the more intense the friction is going to be, because that's that energy. It's kind of unavoidable, right? It's going to be it's not just the creation that is being transformed through the process, it is also the creator. So not only if you're making art or if you're expressing yourself creatively, not only are you putting something out there creatively and you're transforming and building something, but you are being transformed in that process. And so, it can be chaotic, it can be kind of volatile. It's not something that's going to be wrapped up with a neat little bow and it's going to be pretty and easy all the time. And in the same way, if you are undergoing that process with a number of creators working together, then it's like everybody is going to be transformed, because the essence of creativity is that it doesn't just impact one thing. It's not like a laser beam, that's just focused on one particular thing. It's like creativity, it wants to impact and transform everything. So basically anyone and anything that comes into contact with that creative process is going to be challenged and transformed in some way. And transformation and growth is not always easy. Sometimes it's very difficult, right? So it's being able to kind of take that creative force and that tension and friction and find a way to channel it further into the creative process for the benefit of everyone that is participating, rather than tying that up in emotional turmoil. So it's like you're taking things personally or worrying about your own kind of feelings, and it's trusting that you will know how to navigate those situations. You'll know, if it's time to leave a group. Like no group should become more powerful than like your own intuition and inner knowing, right? So it's kind of like, we're not always necessarily meant to be a part of a group or a process or a project from beginning to end. Sometimes we are just meant to facilitate it. Sometimes we're just meant to play like a small role. Sometimes we're meant to be there longer. Sometimes the process is, really beautiful and harmonious, and sometimes it's sharp and painful. So it's trusting that we are going to have whatever experience that we're meant to when we're following our heart and staying true to ourselves. And it's being able to use your discretion, like when it's time to bend, right? When it's time to stand firm, and when it's time to either join or leave a project based on how you're feeling, what's true for you, and what's going on in that group setting, right? And it's trusting that whatever vibe that you pick up, if you're able to just connect to yourself and your inner truth, and put that kind of like ego and emotion aside, then it's like you can trust that things are happening as they're meant to. And so perhaps there's something to do with like this timing, and something that either you're afraid isn't going to happen, or it's not going to be, it's not going to manifest in time, or maybe it's too late to connect with it. It could have to do with whatever this kind of spiritual, creative endeavor is, or whatever this thing, this project is that you're meant to kind of connect with and collaborate on. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you. But it's basically allowing yourself also to be guided with love. Let me see. I think I've covered most of the points. Like this, like I said, this is a very complex kind of card. So yeah, there could very well be some kind of, so it could be a group, like it could be something formal in a work setting. It could be more of a hub, like it could be entrepreneurship, connecting with a network of entrepreneurs who are doing similar kind of work to kind of come together and be more powerful as a whole, like a team of people. It could be like related to a hobby, like something to do with art or music or dance, like however that makes sense for you. But there's a sense that, like, you know, everything is happening in divine timing. So perhaps this is something that it's like, wow, I wish, you know, maybe you have an opportunity to collaborate. Maybe you know that you're being called to, and that's kind of like the next step of your journey and your transformation. But you're kind of hung up on the fact that it's like, oh, like, you know, I'm too old for this, or it's too late for this, or, you know, I'm already too committed to something else that I don't have time for this, right? And it's trusting that if it resonates with you and if it's something that you're passionate about, trusting that things are happening in the right timing. And not disconnecting yourself from opportunities and things that you feel called to because you're trying to like rationalize the timing of it. Because it's like, your life happens in perfect divine timing according to you, right? And who you are and what you've experienced and what you came here to do. So whatever connection that energy has to this collaborative outlet or opportunity. So we're going to get your tarot cards started here. Yeah, and I think like the other thing that I will say is that it's like your confidence and your stability and your knowledge of yourself might be challenged. You might find insecurities coming up about your place in the group, or comparing yourself to others based on their knowledge or skills or how they go about things. And so I would just say that it's important to stay in a high vibration, like in the vibration of love, and to allow that to guide you and to allow yourself to be transformed by the experience. Because I don't get the sense that you're meant to be like measuring yourself up to people. And if that is something that you struggle with, or like, you know, taking up space, is sharing your voice in a group setting is something that you struggle with. It's like you're struggling with it for a reason, and perhaps this is the opportunity for you to start learning how to kind of step up, learning that you don't have to be bound by those fears or those limitations, and that you can start taking up space. And likely once you kind of get out there and start doing it, you'll realize that it's not as big as you built it up to be, or it could very well be really challenging, but it might be, you know, the thing that is most transformative for you in this whole process. So your first card is the Nine of Swords. Let's see what you've got next. So yeah, it's respecting other people's skills and knowledge and their methods, just as you would want yours to be respected. It's kind of like knowing that, you know, if you get a ragtag group of people together, inevitably everyone's going to have a different outlook, different beliefs, a different approach. And that doesn't minimize or maximize your opinion. Like, it's not about putting yourself below or above anyone else. Okay, the Two of Wands is your second card. Yeah, because coming in with that comparative energy, that's not collaborative, right? It's very difficult to collaborate with people if you're kind of constantly measuring yourself as better or worse, or trying to protect your own approach, because it's like you can honor it without having to be defensive about it, I guess. Not that you're defensive necessarily, but if that makes sense to you. Okay, sorry, I just dropped a whole bunch of cards there. Okay, so your final card is the Seven of Swords. Now at the bottom of the deck, we have the Eight of Pentacles. Interesting. That is that studious energy that I think I was picking up on. Okay, so I'm going to immediately get all of your clarifier cards and we'll just read all of the tarot together. But very interesting. We've got some troubling thoughts and perceptions, limitations here, and we've got this creative energy showing up. So it actually goes really beautifully with this whole kind of collaborative dreaming idea. Okay, let's get the clarifier for the Nine of Swords. Okay, Nine of Swords clarified by Father of Pentacles, which is the King of Pentacles. Two of Wands. Let's clarify that. Oh, geez. That was violent. Two of Wands is clarified by the Ace of Wands. Oh, and I think this fell out too, and the Four of Pentacles. That's weird. I don't really like to have two clarifiers. I don't like things to get too complicated, but I'll keep that there in mind anyways. Knight of Wands. Did something flip over here? No. Okay. Knight of Wands. Let's clarify that. Knight of Wands is clarified by the Sun. Oh, I love that. That makes me really happy to see those two come out together. Okay, and finally, let's clarify the Seven of Swords. Mother of Pentacles. An Ace of Swords is at the bottom of the deck. All right, so with the Eight of Pentacles being here at the bottom of the deck, the Eight of Pentacles is a very solid, practical kind of energy. It's very much focused on the individual steps that need to be taken in order to accomplish a goal or in order for something to manifest. So it is the card of kind of studying, practicing, perfecting your craft. It's kind of like, being an apprentice, right? And it's like, we might have done a lot of studying and research. So it can be about having a lot of knowledge, having a lot of theoretical knowledge and wisdom and skill. And it's like, that's the first step, right? Because generally we go to school to learn the theory and the concepts. And then it's kind of like, it's not until we get into a real world setting where we are in, like, we have a more hands-on application where we have to take that theory and that knowledge and translate that into action and skill. And so it's like you can know how to do something perfectly, but still not be able to do it perfectly, right? So it's like there is like a practical skill that needs to be built. It needs to be practiced. And it's basically like, this might not be necessarily like a very exciting energy. It's very much kind of nose to the grindstone. You don't have to be working super hard or exhausting yourself each and every day, but it's taking small, consistent, tangible steps towards your goal, whatever it is that you're trying to create, whatever you're trying to connect with, whatever craft or skill you're trying to refine. It's basically like putting in the work that's required to become the master. And for that to come out with the Ace of Swords, it could be that there's a new opportunity, like an opportunity for a new perspective, a new way of seeing, the world, your life, a strike of inspiration, an awakening. And so perhaps this awakening or this new perspective is related to whatever skill it is, whatever it is that you've been practicing or refining, right? Or like trying to get the practical kind of hands-on skill in order to be able to, feel as though you're qualified or you're prepared to take the next step, whatever that might be for yourself. So that seems to be the underlying energy here. So yeah, there's an opportunity for a new beginning or a new perspective, a new way of thinking about or approaching it. Perhaps that you've already kind of that's already come into your awareness, if that makes sense to you. The energy that you're being encouraged to come into the month of April with is kind of being aware of this is like fears, anxieties, worries. It can be self-criticism, limiting beliefs. So it's like this is the card of like the anxieties, the things that keep you up at night, the things that cause you to lose sleep. You know, it might cause you to despair. It can definitely be a feeling of like having a great amount of anxiety, perhaps ruminating on fears and worries, the things that are keeping, this is like the things that are keeping you stuck, the things that are keeping you from connecting to your truth, or maybe stepping out of your shell, whatever that is. So it's like the things that you feel drawn to, that you want to do, that you're kind of telling yourself no. Or, you know, if there's something that you feel drawn to do and you're excited about, but then you start thinking about the logistics of it and the practicality of it, and then you end up overthinking it and like convincing yourself not to do it because it's just not safe, or whatever the case may be. That's what this energy is. And so it's to be aware of, you know, it's to be aware of your internal dialogue. Like, what do you tell yourself about yourself, your skills, your abilities? What do you tell yourself about timing of your life and the opportunities that are available to you? What do you tell yourself about connecting with and collaborating with other like-minded people? Right? And what do you tell yourself about your stability, your place in the world, how other people receive you and your energy? Like, this applies to any and all thoughts about yourself, the world, what's available to you. And these are the things that don't necessarily feel inspiring, right? These are the things that keep you tied to fear. And recognizing like it can be a really heavy energy to work with, especially recognizing like you might not be aware or conscious of your internal dialogue, and perhaps, you know, throughout the day you're speaking down to yourself, you're putting yourself down, you're diminishing your skills and abilities, you're telling yourself that there are no opportunities available to you, or that you're not worthy of seizing opportunities, or that it's too late, or things will never work out. The things that you want are never going to appear for you. So yeah, definitely focusing on what your internal dialogue looks like, any of that lower vibrational energy that's rooted in worry and fear and anxiety that's keeping you limited and stuck. Allowing yourself to kind of observe your mind, and to figure, once you've taken the time to observe those thoughts and recognize, then it's time to kind of reconcile them and figure out, like, is this thought working for me, right? Is this empowering me? Is this what I really feel to be true? Or am I just afraid that it could be true, right? Because the thing is, we ultimately have power over our mind, but it's very difficult to have power over our thoughts and to choose more empowered and aligned and beneficial thoughts that are going to take us toward our goal. If we don't know the ways that our mind can like trick us, or the ways that we sabotage ourselves. So it's kind of like you have to be able to focus on it and come into awareness in order to be able to assess if it's right and true for you, because that's the key part of like being able to let it go. And so it's kind of like you might have the majority of these thoughts being here, like that are awful and limiting or scary, and that are kind of clouding your vision for what your life can be like. But there's the one truth here that's you, that's yours. Like, that's the empowering, that's the encouraging. It can still feel scary, because a lot of the time the things that inspire us and the things that we really want to do, they test our limits, they challenge our comfort zone, because they're meant to kind of introduce us to opportunities for growth, so that we can step further into ourselves and our power and move along our path, right? So it's like, for all of this kind of unhelpful energy that's here, it's like your truth is still there. It's just kind of buried. And it's not until you can start to determine the thoughts and perceptions that aren't working for you, that may be like filtering through, like, is that true? Does that help me? Does that make me feel good? Is this going to make me a better, happier person? And if you determine no, then it's kind of like you have to make the decision to recognize that, yes, that feels like a truth, but it's just an idea. And you can choose not to believe it, and you can choose to connect with something that makes sense to you, that is empowering, that's going to help you. That's your truth, right? And this could very well be rooted in like the material world. So it could be rooted in career, like material stability, financial stability, like what you do for work, how you live your life, basically like, so this could be like, you might be limited by practicality, like doing everything in a very logical, practical way. And so it's like, if there is a really like creative or personal or intuitive or spiritual side to it, like maybe you feel as though that's not something that you can express because you're known to be this very practical, very grounded, kind of reliable person that just follows the rules and doesn't really deviate. Or this could be like related to an energy of like people in your life who are very much that way. And perhaps that energy might only be fueling your limiting beliefs and keeping you from feeling as though you're able to kind of start stepping into your power. I'm not sure how that makes sense to you, but it's like basically like recognizing, those limiting beliefs that aren't serving you and how that might be connected to how you're showing up in the world, how you're taking action in the world when it comes to money and career, how you present yourself, anything to do with material belongings, family, home, that kind of stuff. Your challenge looks as though it's like the challenge is a decision to be made, and it's kind of like a decision to play it safe and do what you've always done, or to kind of step out of the comfort zone, right? So it's like maybe you get the sense that it's like things have been going this way for a certain period of time. So maybe there's an opportunity that's come up, maybe an opportunity that you feel like is too late to connect with, something to do with this creative, collaborative dream that's trying to be brought down into reality. So yeah, the sense is like there's something that needs to change. There's a decision that needs to be made, and it's kind of like you have to make a decision to go in one direction or the other. And usually the Two of Wands is like, your choice is you can stay in your comfort zone doing things the way that you've always done them, but that means that you're committing yourself to the energy that you're currently in right now. So if things are not working for you, or you're not feeling particularly fulfilled, making the decision to consciously stay in that energy, while it might feel safe, is not necessarily going to allow you the opportunity to grow and expand and to connect with experiences that could very well be like enriching and enjoyable for you, even if they do have, some tension or friction. And even if, because growth and transformation can be a painful process, right? It can be overwhelming. So that alone and just like dealing with change can make us want to stay in our comfort zone, right? But it's like there's kind of a whole world out there for you to explore. And, the spark of your passion and your creativity and the things that you have a really like innate interest in, that bring meaning and fulfillment to your life, it's like you could choose to follow that path. And you might not know what that path looks like because it's a new one and you've never really fully traveled it before. And so this is also about saying like, yeah, you can absolutely use your own spark to like light your own path, but you don't have to do it alone, right? And I think connecting with people that are on a similar path or that have similar values, you don't have to follow the path that they have followed. You don't have to do things the way that they have done, but it's nice to have a community of people that would understand you and be supportive as you're trying to kind of navigate your way on this adventure, guided by your personal inspiration, and like making the effort not to limit yourself to the way you've been taught to do things, or the way things have always been done, or maybe the fears that are keeping you stuck. So it's like that could be it too. And you might be able to receive information or inspiration from other people who are on a similar path, and it might help you to feel more confident and comfortable in navigating the uncertainty that comes along with kind of blazing your own trail and trusting your instincts and divine timing and just kind of like venturing out for yourself, right? And for that to be clarified by the Ace of Wands is saying like there very much is an opportunity for you to connect with a new creative outlet or hobby or project or passion. It could be, entrepreneurial. It could be just a hobby. It could be connecting with a group of people. But this is the opportunity for you to connect with that little spark, right? That little spark that ignites you, that creative energy, that inspiration that feels like you. And like recognizing the opportunity, it's not enough to just know that it's there, but it's something that you have to be willing to commit to. And like recognizing this and being inspired by this is what brings us to have to make this decision. Like, I know that this is here. I know that it means something to me. Am I going to ignore it and try to just pretend like it's not there, or to commit to life without it? Or am I going to like give myself the opportunity to make a different decision and investigate what this is and how this might pan out for me? And for it to be clarified further by the Four of Pentacles indicates that it could very well have a tie to your material stability, your money, your career, your field of study. And the thing is, like with the Four of Pentacles, it's about being very discerning with our resources, smart about our spending, smart about our saving. It can be being smart about making financial decisions. It's kind of like the currency in our lives, like, yeah, being aware of how we're spending that, and making the most out of what we have, but also being open to more, because it can also be considered like the miser card. So it's like worrying about material resources, worrying about your financial stability, being worried about having enough and clinging very tightly to the things that you have, because that provides you with a sense of safety and stability, kind of like a comfort zone. But the thing is, if we're wanting to connect with more abundance, and abundance comes in many forms aside from just material items and wealth, like financial wealth, monetary wealth. But it's basically saying, if we are coming from that lack mentality and it's making us so fearful that we're holding tightly to those resources and we're not willing to spend, it's like you kind of have to give to get. And, you know, what you put out is what comes back to you, right? And so if you're so busy holding on tightly to your resources, you don't have an open hand to receive more, even if it were to show up for you. And you likely wouldn't be able to see when abundance is coming in for you, because you're so focused on trying to protect this thing that you have. And this can also be about setting yourself up, you know, for setting a stable and a stable and solid foundation in like the material world for you to build upon. So yeah, job, money, house, finances, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's going to be the challenge for you, is like really kind of being able to acknowledge and step into that desire, and maybe being challenged on these fronts with your financial stability. Or like, this can also be like a kind of stubborn card, to be honest with you. So yeah, you might have your approach or the way that you've always done things kind of challenged, right? And to kind of deal with this energy, you're really being encouraged to step into your passion, step into your creativity, you know, march to the beat of your own drum, allow yourself to step into, you know, it's kind of like fearless self-expression, not worrying about what anyone else is doing, not worrying about what anyone else thinks or how you're going to be perceived, but just allowing yourself to connect to who you really are, what inspires you, to express yourself creatively in whatever way that comes out for you, whatever your outlets are. It's like, you know, you can see here, like she's beating her own drum, she's dancing, she's celebrating, she's happy, she's having a good time, she's expressing this like inner light and passion and creativity, and it's benefiting her and it's radiating outward, right? And so it's kind of like this wild stallion kind of energy. And it can be like very confident and very charismatic. And sometimes we need to step into that energy to feel what it's like to actually allow ourselves to express our authenticity, right? And for the Sun to come up with it, the Sun is the happiest card in the deck. It is all about, you know, your joy, your happiness, your fulfillment, love, fun, play. You know, it's associated with like a childlike energy. It's like, and the way that I say it is, it's like, it's the things in your life that feel like sunshine, that make you happy, that fill you up, that bring you warmth and meaning and connection, right? And so it's kind of like, if you're going to make the decision to connect with your passion and to kind of start exploring the adventure and the path that could take you on, and living a life that is more connected to and expressive of that energy, the best way to kind of do so is to just start connecting with and allowing yourself to express and experience that now, without fear and without hesitation, and knowing that when you shine your own light confidently and authentically, you don't have to be worried about what anyone else thinks, or if it's the way that anyone else does it, or if people agree with you, because the people that are meant to fall away will fall away, and you don't want them in your orbit anyways if it's not going to be, a beneficial connection. And it's trusting that by putting that energy out there, not only are you empowering yourself and you're giving yourself the opportunity to benefit from that energy, but you're broadcasting that to the people around you, and you're going to draw in people and resources and opportunities that match this energy, that want to connect with that energy, that have a place for it, have an appreciation for it. And that is kind of what allows you to connect with individuals that you can collaboratively dream with. And it makes it easier to navigate the struggles of, working in a creative atmosphere or energy with other similarly inspired people, right? And it's kind of like connecting to your happiness and joy and the things that are meaningful to you and allowing yourself to experience that right now. It's going to help shift your energy and help you to feel more confident about like being able to navigate your own path and just giving yourself permission to like live a little bit more freely. And the highest possible outcome for this month is actually really lovely. It's kind of like, it's almost like a mirror of this like Nine of Swords and Father of Pentacles, because the Seven of Swords, it's kind of like, this is very much about our defenses. It can feel as though like we don't trust people, we are anticipating attack or, being undermined or being cheated or swindled. It's kind of like, it's kind of like imminent danger. And it's not necessarily that we are in a situation that's dangerous or that we have those energies around us, but it can be fear, anxiety, worry, paranoia even. We can be poisoned by previous experiences that were negative or people that betrayed us. And so that can lead to us having trust issues and not necessarily being open to connecting with or trusting new people, expressing ourselves, being vulnerable and being able to collaborate. So perhaps that is part of the issue in terms of collaboration, is just being able to trust other people, trust that you will be valued, trust that you'll be respected and well received, trust that it can be a positive and uplifting experience, particularly if you've had bad experiences in the past. So it's kind of like, the wonderful thing is like the full moon is here, the light of the full moon. So it's kind of like anything that's deceptive, whether it's your own thoughts, perceptions, and beliefs, or whether it's people around you who are, deceptive or who, are unsupportive or who are problematic in any sense of the word, like doing shady things. So it's like anything that isn't above board is going to come to light. And when it comes to light, sure, it may be a difficult or painful process. It can be difficult to realize the ways that we hold ourselves back and sabotage ourselves if there's no reason to be fearful, and it's just like our previous experiences that have got us playing defense. But it can also be difficult to acknowledge that, yeah, sometimes there are people around us that don't have our back and don't have our best interests in mind. Sometimes we are lied to or cheated or stolen from. But the thing is like, as painful and difficult as those things can be when they come to light, it's also very empowering because it allows us to see the truth of the matter and to be able to make kind of like take our power back and choose a way forward, a thought, a belief instead that is going to be healthy and aligned. So to disconnect from that type of energy, to not allow ourselves to kind of overthink and talk ourselves out of things because we're afraid of this energy showing up, and to not tolerate that kind of deception and betrayal from the people around us, because when we disconnect from that energy and set that kind of boundary, we intend to connect with something better, and that immediately impacts our external experiences, right? So it's kind of like liberation from whatever this is. And this, yeah, again, this could be related to work, career, money, like a marriage or partnership, home life, material possessions, just the way that you take action in the world, the way that you influence the external world. And it's kind of like, it's bringing in this softer energy, right? Because the Father of Pentacles is kind of like the provider, the protector, right? It's like a very outward focused, dutiful energy, like do what you need to do, put the work in, establish that stability, take care of your family, whatever the case may be, take care of your money, all of that stuff. But it's very outward focused. It's very demonstrative and like taking action in the world. Whereas the Mother of Pentacles is a more inward focused. It's more receptive. It's more nurturing, like maternal kind of divine feminine type of energy. So it might kind of allow you to let your defenses down so that you're more open to receiving and experiencing in life instead of having to constantly take action. And maybe if you are like a doer and you've always been kind of like the leader or the one to take action, it can be difficult to kind of be open to collaborating with other individuals, especially if we've got issues around being receptive to other people. But it's like kind of coming into that more grounded, stable energy where you're able to receive wisdom and experience and knowledge and information from other people instead of being the one to kind of pilot the, I don't know, ship. I have no idea what I'm trying to say, but I think you get the gist. So that's a very positive outcome, I would say. This is like, I like this. This is very inspiring. It's like the universe just wants you to be happy. And perhaps your happiness is going to be related to some type of collaboration with like-minded individuals, particularly if you are like the lone wolf or the black sheep. It's like, you know, that's all well and fine, and that has its benefits, but I think that having an openness and being transformed by collaborative opportunities might help soften you a little bit, and it might help, you know, ease some of those worries or fears or, you know, the things that are keeping you stuck from really, truly experiencing your joy and expressing yourself authentically. So really beautiful energy. So you've got one affirmation. I choose to reinterpret my fears with a more loving perspective. There you go. It's kind of what I was just talking about. So your fears are these black crows, these swords, right? These perceptions, and it's recognizing that because it's in your mind and you're not bound to it, you can choose to see things differently. You can choose to believe things differently. And the best way is to allow yourself to be guided by love, right? Because that is going to be empowering, and that's going to help you connect to yourself and what is real and true and beneficial to you. When I feel blocked, emotionally distressed, or overwhelmed, I turn to my breath. So like I said, just in confronting like these challenges, these perspectives, these limiting beliefs or fears, it can be a lot, right? It can be really overwhelming. It can be distressing. You know, being in a collaborative environment, if that's something that you're already participating in, and having that tension, it can be difficult, especially for sensitive individuals. So yeah, it might be a good idea to have some kind of breathwork practice, like maybe if you're into yoga, meditation, breathwork, making sure that you're taking time to do those kinds of rituals or activities. Even just like a very quick breathwork practice, like the 4-second box breathing, is something that you can do pretty much anytime, any place. And that will just kind of help calm your nervous system and help get you into your body, like ground your energy down a little bit, so that you're not in that kind of fight or flight energy, which can kind of exacerbate these troubling thoughts. And sometimes that can cause us to spiral further. My happiness can be measured by my level of faith and love. So yeah, I get the sense like love for yourself, love and acceptance and respect for yourself and also for other people. That relationship starts with you and how you feel about yourself. Any kind of issues or blocks that you have in terms of love in your own relationship to yourself is only going to be mirrored back to you in your interactions with other people. So it's keeping in mind that that your happiness has a lot to do with how you give and receive love, what you believe about love in your own life. So, and that's also connected to this, to your passion, right? And your happiness. I let my intimate relationships be my greatest learning devices for spiritual growth and healing. So intimate relationships, obviously that can be romantic in nature. That's what everyone kind of jumps to. So you could very well have a partner that is particularly beneficial. Maybe they help you a lot. Maybe you have already experienced a great deal of spiritual growth and healing and had like a safe space to kind of work through whatever you're going through. So it's like definitely lean on those people. Allow for that to happen. Allow for that level of connection and vulnerability. And it's funny, like talking about emotions and stuff like that, because there are no cups came up for you. It's all like swords, wands, and pentacles. So yeah, it's like not underestimating the power of your emotions, vulnerability, connections to other people. And intimate connections can also be in the form of friendships, relationships to family, people that you collaborate with. So it's kind of trusting yourself to start making those connections and determining who you can lean on and allowing yourself to have that safe space so that you can be transformed by those experiences, right? Because those are going to help you learn almost like more than anything else, right? And I think a lot of water signs in general do experience the most growth through relationships and like emotional connections with other people. Like as humans in general, our relationships are the most kind of transformative, or offer the most opportunity for transformation, but I think especially for water signs, so that doesn't surprise me. Okay, we had a whole bunch of cards come out. So I'm going to get your final oracle card. Oh, I love this. This is so perfect for you. So perfect. If I do say so myself. The Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. I am very deeply acquainted with this card. Like literally my whole path to reading tarot and sharing this kind of stuff with other people is it's like this card came out for me constantly, like almost every day, almost every time I picked up this deck to be like, what do I do? What do I need to know? It was this. You've been training for this for lifetimes. So like that's a very good sign to me that this came. It made me immediately very happy for you that this came up, because it's very much could be connected to a spiritual outlet, a spiritual practice, a purpose that you have in terms of like a gift, healing, supporting other people, whatever it might be, like in terms of this collaborative capacity. So here we go, Pisces, to tie everything together. Sorry, this is getting so long. The Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. Mystics and sages throughout the ages have predicted this period in history, and you decided to incarnate in the middle of it. There is no mistake that you are supposed to be here at this time of great change. That's very much connected to this. If you ever feel unprepared or daunted by the path that is calling you, know this. You've been training for this for lifetimes. You're way more than the days that have breathed through you in this life. You're also all of the lifetimes that came before. All of these experiences have polished your soul into the most magnificent expression that is your authentic self. Your soul has many facets. Imagine a fingerprint. Your soul is 1,000,000 times more intricate than that. If you put together all of the fingerprints of all of the people you have been, you would not even get close to fathoming how much of a unique masterpiece you are. You came in with a clear soul plan. You came in with wisdom beyond your years. This is a part of you that longs to be seen. This is the part of you that is ready to step forward, that is ready to emerge. This is not the lifetime to stay hidden, but to step forth, be seen, and rise. And then the Work Your Light activation says, hold the card on your heart and say the following words. So if you choose to do this, if you're interested, perhaps I'll just hold the card up for you and you can focus on it or visualize it. So it says, I call forth the soul gifts and soul training that I have received throughout all of my lifetimes. I am ready to embody them all now without hesitation and without fear. I have been training for this for lifetimes. Yeah, so there's a sense that like this is part of your destiny, and perhaps that is the struggle when it comes to timing. Maybe the time is now and you're feeling reluctant, or maybe the time is coming in and you've been, blocking yourself from receiving your blessings because you've been so focused on when and how that's supposed to happen. So Anyways, I think this is a really beautiful reading for you, Pisces. I'm going to leave it there because it's long enough as it is. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope this is helpful to you. If you did enjoy this reading, please like the video. Definitely leave me a comment and let me know what resonated for you. If there's anyone you can think of that might benefit from my content, feel free to share. And also take a look over my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. You can check out my other videos and make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on new readings as they're posted. So Pisces, it's been an absolute pleasure to read for you. I love this energy for you. I hope that April is good to you. I am very much looking forward to reading for you next month and seeing what is to come. And thank you so much for sharing this time in space with me. And yeah, in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.